Well, hi there. I am at the Florida Christian Writers Conference today, and I'm meeting all sorts of really interesting people. I want to introduce you to Kat Rosenblatt.
Hi.
She is a survivor of domestic minor sex trafficking. And when I heard her story, I was like, oh my goodness. I was just amazed because, we know of things that are going on in Eastern Europe and Asian countries, and we know that that's happening over there. But domestically, wow, that kind of wakes us up. And I would love to share with you guys her story. So, Kat, why don't you tell us first, how did you get involved in this?
Well, I came from an abusive home, and being that I had that background, I was vulnerable to exploiters. That's what they are. They're opportunists. And so I found myself at 13 at a hotel in Miami Beach with my mom. Being a single mom, she left my abusive father again, and so we were there in the summer. And this older girl recruited me. She came up to me, though, as a friend. The devil doesn't come with a pitchfork and horns, but she came with a red bikini. And so she befriended me at the pool, told me that I could be somebody, and she wanted to teach me the facts of life. Well, I didn't want her kind of facts. I would find out. But through the process, she introduced me to her pimp, who was the nicest man in the world. He actually looks like a pastor I know and had little kids, and he told me I can call him Daddy. And anything I needed, he would give me. And so through that process, she gained my trust. He gained my trust. I thought he was a nice man, the father I had always longed for. And I trusted them. My mom trusted them. Eventually, she would try to sell me to a 65-year-old man in the hotel who had been watching me and wanted a virgin. Thankfully, God saved me out of that situation, but not before they kidnapped me and drugged me and left me for dead on the side of the road. But God spared me, and I was able to move on, and we moved out of there. Within 6 months, however, I would be recruited once again by somebody in my middle school. And through that process, my friend's father was what would be called a trafficker. She recruited 14-year-old girls from the middle school in Miami. And we went to her house for sleepovers. And during those sleepovers, her father had older men, and they would pick out the girls that they wanted, blindfold us, and take us to a secret apartment, or what would be called a brothel, paying for each girl that they wanted to spend time with. Once again, I would find myself in the presence of the enemy, but God speaking to my heart. See, because I had become a born-again Christian at 9 and gave my life to Jesus at a Billy Graham crusade. In each of these circumstances, I felt God in my heart reminding me of who I really was, a child of God, and not this thing that they were trying to create or make me into, which would be called a prostitute. Eventually, I got away from that situation. I ran away. They brought me back. People would see me and think I was just a juvenile delinquent skipping school, but I wasn't. I wanted help. I needed help. But back then, some 20 years ago, you wouldn't know what to call this. But what it was forced prostitution, forced rape. Any of those terms or circumstances would suffice. And getting away from them didn't stop them from trying to plant drugs in my purse and get me suspended from school. And eventually I wound up being involved in another situation. But because I already had a drug addiction through these other people, I wound up being even more vulnerable. So now I was abused and I was addicted to cocaine. Those two factors, along with a single-parent home, it was just a matter of time before I was picked up again by another opportunist. This time he came in my apartment building as a 70-year-old man offering me café con leche, which is coffee and milk. That little innocent coffee break turned into an 8-month-long relationship with this man and other drug dealers that he was affiliated with, taking us to several places throughout the Miami area, drugging us, forcing us into sexual acts that were not what we wanted. And at 14, I don't think any girl ever wants that, especially not when one of those customers had AIDS. I wouldn't find out that night how much God loved me, but he spared my life when this customer, who they convinced me was my responsibility to spend time with, though I protested and cried, they forced me. In the very act, he got sick and couldn't perform, and God spared my life. Finding out later that my other friend had contracted AIDS from the same man, I knew that God loved me. I knew that he saved me. He loved all of us, but maybe some of them weren't listening or didn't know, but I knew. I knew God, and I wanted to come back to him. And I did, and he delivered me from cocaine supernaturally. He delivered me from drugs and alcohol, and I wanted to better my life. It was then that I got into modeling, and I went to John Casablanca's modeling school, only to be recruited again through a modeling ad, a false modeling ad. And when I went to this modeling ad, the agent sent me to a John who would molest me, and I ran away when there was an opportunity. After he had locked me in his office and told me I would never be going home, I would live in a home with other girls like me, and he had plans for me. They had clothes and they had everything. God spared my life again, and I was safe. I got away, I ran away, and this time I had a car, and I got home, not like the other times where I didn't know where I was. I was able to get home. I got to my mom, and this time she took me to the police, only to be told by a law enforcement officer that I was nothing more than a juvenile delinquent. When I was told that, and that my assaulter had been a retired detective, I realized something had to change. I wasn't going to become this thing, this person, that all these men and opportunists were trying to make me. And from that moment on, when I left the police station, I made a decision and a commitment that I would become better than this. God had made me better than that. I wasn't going to believe the lie. And so I started on my journey towards going back to school and getting my GED, only to find myself then pregnant at 17. I got married in an abusive relationship, got out of that, but I was able to get my college degree over the last 23 years, and now I'm getting my doctorate. I'm finishing my PhD in conflict resolution, and I have a ministry, and I go out and I talk to girls and kids and help them know the dangers that are out there of human trafficking.
That is an amazing story. Wow. I can understand how that's hard to tell. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And it's just amazing, God's redeeming love, and how he kind of just, you could feel him still while you were in the middle of all that stuff. It was amazing. So you're helping other girls today. Yes. So why don't you give us your contact information if they want to hear more about what you're doing.
Thanks. I have the greatest privilege in the world of being invited to go into jails and schools and group homes, and I talk to girls about what's happened to me and the promise and redemption of God and his love and his word. And girls who have been trafficked then come forward and they want mentoring. And I'm a life coach, so I offer them mentoring and help and Bible study and try to get them into college. And we've had more than 120% success. So the name of my ministry is called There Is Hope for Me, and you can check it out online at www.thereishopefor.me.org. And it's my privilege to be here with you. Thanks for listening. And if there's hope for me, there's hope for you. There's hope for anybody. God bless you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, my new friend.